Before the changes, Jude was a really happy, sociable, loving child. He had a lovely personality, full of fun. He enjoyed music and bowling and swimming. He loved being around his siblings and his family. Music especially, he really, really enjoyed. Um, and he, despite being largely nonverbal, he was able to communicate with us and let us know his needs and, be involved in conversations and family events with friends as well. And he was just a very, very happy child, and he knew the expectations of, life and routine. Yeah, he was very, very happy. The changes were very dramatic, nothing like we'd ever seen before, and it was very sudden and happened very quickly. The whole list of symptoms and changes they experienced probably all occurred within about 4 weeks. He began to lose skills, such as, even just being able to get up off the chair, feed himself. He couldn't really swallow anymore. He then started not making any sounds, so he couldn't communicate anymore, and he'd just have this blank expression on his face. He looked very, very sad. And then he began experiencing quite intense aggression, where he would be quite violent to us and hit us and throw things. He developed severe sleep disturbances, where he wouldn't sleep at all. He lost an incredible amount of weight, 9 kilo within 4 weeks. And in the the first month, he become completely mute, and he didn't actually make any sound for probably about 3.5 months. And I kept taking him back to the GP and things, and no one would actually take any notice or listen to what we were saying, despite all these dramatic changes in him. It was very scary, and it was like I just kept thinking and saying to everybody, his brain, it was like something had happened in his brain, that there was a disconnection, and he was there physically, but he wasn't in the world anymore. It was a very long and lengthy process to actually access any treatment. I went to A&E and the GP probably 8 times. Um, and at first they thought he had a chest infection, so he was treated with antibiotics. But his chest x-ray yielded no infection there. And no one actually knew the cause of Jude's symptoms. They thought it might be dentistry, or because his mouth was all chapped and he couldn't swallow. And yeah, no one could really give us any answers. He was then admitted into A&E for dehydration. So he was an inpatient for 3 days, and he was tested for type 1 diabetes. And they treated the dehydration, and I just thought, wow, okay, this is it now. He's going to get better. This was in the December. And then by the January, he came home and nothing sort of changed. It actually got worse. And that's when the aggression started. Very distraught, very withdrawn, very sad all the time. He didn't smile at all. There was still not much communication, just lots of screaming and agitation. And the school got involved, and the paediatrician asked to see him back in hospital for further testing. So he was tested for Addison's disease, vitamin deficiency. He had a CT scan to rule out anything clinically scary in the brain. So the clinical observations and tests had to be ruled out before anything else, like psychiatric and things. All the tests yielded nothing, everything was negative. But the CT scan showed up a calcification in his basal ganglia. So a neurologist was then involved from another hospital and came in the May. So this is now February to May. It was another few months wait. And he diagnosed him with Down syndrome regression disorder. I went off to research all about it and to find the doctor that could help. So that's what we did. I did. Discovered there was a treatment in the USA, IVIG, with an amazing doctor over there that was already undertaking clinical trials for Down syndrome regression disorder, and I contacted him, and I needed to find his equivalent in the UK. So that was my mission, really. But you can't just refer yourself to these people. So his local paediatrician referred me, and he got refused because of his age, and she was a consultant immunologist in Great Ormond Street. So at first we were refused because of his age, because he was now 16. And although they take patients at 16, they can't see them initially like at 16. You have to be an existing patient. And then, so he got refused, so I re-referred and I got a letter for an appointment. But this was now probably June-ish time, and it took 6 months for me to see her. So when I met with her, I showed her all my evidence, all photos, videos. Jude come along to the appointment with me, and he was still very much symptomatic. Not so acute, but still very chronic. He didn't sleep at all at this point. He still was very, very thin. Eating was still very up and down, and the symptoms were quite cyclic. So he would have catatonia for maybe 12 weeks where he would just not move at all. And then he would be manic and just be really loud and screaming and very aggressive. Where in the catatonia, he'd be very withdrawn and low and depressed, and just wouldn't move at all. By this point, he'd lost he was incontinent, so he could no longer go to the toilet by himself either. So he was back in nappies. And the doctor said that she could get IVIG, and that's what she had been researching for 20 years, and she wanted to try and treat Jude with it. I don't know why she chose Jude. I still to this day have no idea why he was chosen, but she said it's going to be a long process because it had to go to a panel. It wasn't easy to get. It's very expensive, and Down syndrome regression disorder wasn't a recognised condition still within the NHS. So this was December 24. So off she went. We communicated every 6 weeks or so to give updates. And then July 25, I got a call to say it's been approved. Can he come in within the next 2 weeks? And we were going to give him the first dose. So it was just incredible. So we went in and he started IVIG, which is immunoglobulin, and it was through intravenous. And he spent 2 days. He had 2 cycles, one day after the other. He didn't have any side effects or anything, and the results were just like quite instant, really. It was incredible. Like straight away, he wanted to take his nappy off. The next day, he didn't want to wear a nappy anymore. He started using the toilet again. Within 4 weeks, he'd gained weight. He smiled for the first time in nearly 2 years. He wanted to use an iPad again that he hadn't touched for 2 years. And we could see that he was coming back to us. We got refused for psychiatric help and support. And we didn't actually get that until 1 month before he started the treatment. The psychiatrist said, your son is very, very poorly, and why we need to help you and we need to help your family. So he prescribed him fluoxetine and 2 milligrams, and he has that daily. And that has definitely helped lift his mood and bring him out of his depression and low mood. We've just recently upped the dose a little bit more because I'm finding that the psychiatry side is the last symptom to improve. Physically now, Jude has regained every skill that he had lost.